Today, I'm going to be attempting to survive 200 days on this tribal island. This island is full of dinosaurs, big and small, and not many of them are friendly. Oh, not to mention there's also wild islanders trying to kill us. The last time you guys saw me on Tribal Island, I was split up from Sword, trying to make my way out of this earthquake. Our entire island was in shambles, and Sword and I had no choice but to search for a new island. Really quickly, before we get into the 100 days, if you guys would like to play Tribal Island for yourself with some friends, go check out MC Pro Hosting. They have loads of different plans you can choose from depending on what you need. You can even get a free trial, and make sure to use code GUILTY for 25% off of your purchase. The mods we used will also be down below in the description if you guys are interested. And if you guys do enjoy these videos, be sure to subscribe and follow my Twitter. Without further ado, let's see what happens next. Well, here we are, fleeing from the island we used to call home in search of a new one. Finally, we've reached land. We of course didn't have anything, so we started fresh. We cut down some of these jungle trees and observed the land around us. We need to be super aware. We have literally no idea who or what is living here. This island is much larger than the last one and could be home to more enemies. I grabbed some stone while Sword killed some sheep to eat. But before we knew it, it was getting dark. And the last place I want to be is stuck on a tropical island alone with Sword and whatever else is living here. So we started traveling up the coast to safety. And here we are, with an already close encounter to death. I was being shot by skeletons, and then out of nowhere, something that Sword told me is called a goon spawned next to me, and started summoning scorpions. And yes, these guys hurt. Sword really had my back here. I was able to run to safety and eat some raw pork chops, yum. We then spent some time getting wood and climbed a tree to be safe. We cooked the little food that we had and got some health back. Sword actually had enough wool for beds, so we slept in the sand and then continued on the next day. We need to get moving. Literally anything could be watching us. We both grabbed some wood and explored the surrounding area. This place is actually pretty neat. We found a cave, perfect to get stone and iron. Well, not really. We found these guys inhabiting the cave and they didn't look very happy. We fought them off and then grabbed some of the light resources from the cave. And then we continued looking for some place to call home. Wait a second. Dinosaurs again? Why? It seemed like we were surrounded by dinosaurs, and not all of them looked friendly. Sword and I realized that we are very much unprepared for a dinosaur fight, and continued on our way. The next day was a day full of exploring, and starving. Our biggest issue by now is not having enough food. Oh, and the best part is that more goons were around us spawning scorpions. But we kept moving. Sword cooked me up a nice pork chop, so I was feeling a lot better, and was able to sprint. After the sun had set, the night sky was magnificent. The northern lights were out tonight. The next morning, we got an early start and climbed this mountain. We were really starving and had no choice but to eat this peacock. We kept climbing and then saw tons of moose and mammoths. I don't know if you guys have seen a moose in real life, but these guys are big. Oh, also, there was lots of iron in the mountain, so we grabbed that too. After hanging out with these majestic creatures for a bit, we went even further up the mountain and then realized we were standing on top of a volcano. What island are we on? It seems like everywhere we turn, there is something else to conquer. We actually spent so long on top of this volcano grabbing iron and planning out our next moves. The amount of iron, coal, and gold on top of here was absurd. We were both able to get full iron armor and shields. Finally, on day 5, we moved on from the volcano, and on our way down, we found a penguin. We decided to call him Marvin, and I must say he's pretty cool. I'm 1,000,000,000% making a penguin sanctuary later on. Okay, now for the real test. Time to kill some Dilophosauruses. With my leftover iron, Sword and I both made great swords. These are a bit more powerful and give us some reach. And with little food and not great armor, we fought our first dinosaurs together, and thankfully, they dropped a lot of food. The next morning, we were fighting more dinos. And then we kept looking for the perfect spot to set up our base. But instead, all I found was this bug that for some reason really looks like a croissant. Okay, anyways, we found this perfect place to set up our house. Sword really wanted to build a treehouse. Having height on any dinosaur or islanders might actually be our best option. While Sword got to work on this, I did a bit of terraforming and even planted some wheat. The dino meat we have is already running low. The treehouse was looking really great, but I can't lie, I didn't really help with this. The next day, I cut down trees for the entire day. Do you guys ever have Minecraft days where all you do is cut down trees? Because sometimes I have super long tree chopping sessions in my worlds. And with the wood I got, I helped Sword build the rest of the treehouse. I'm actually really liking how this looks. Sword also showed me these really cool bookshelves. Okay, obviously food is a problem in this world. So today, I gathered some of these hilarious looking turkeys. And do they know their fate? I think not. These guys are kind of goofy, so it took all day to get them in here. Today was a day of mining. While I was underground, I found some weird mobs. Guys, modded Minecraft is weird. Of course, I ran out of food, so I had to come back up and cook some turkey. I was mining for a while and didn't have much luck with anything, and my pickaxe broke, so don't even ask me how I got back up to the surface. Sword and I need to get out of this jungle. After 114 days, you start to go a little crazy. We explored our surroundings, and to our surprise, we weren't very far from a small fishing village. There were quite a few things in this first hut that we went inside, including all of these weird foods and loads of books. Look, I'm not going to make you read this entire thing, but basically, the book is talking about a man who lives on top of a castle and looks out upon a village every day while eating, you guessed it, a potato. Now listen, the reason this may be significant is because we may finally find out what is on this island for us. A village to call home? Other people to conquer the island with? We had high hopes. We hung on to the book and raided the rest of this abandoned fishing village. We got all sorts of treasure, including diamonds. And some other things that I really can't identify. The last house we found had a sleepy friend inside, and Sword was too scared, so of course, I had to go inside and take care of this fella. Hey, at least I got some cool reptile armor. No, actually, Sword took that too. We slept in the village, and the next morning, we sorted through some things around the village, and started on our way home. We also started a fight with a really strange-looking dinosaur, unaware of how powerful he is, and let's just say, he wasn't the friendliest. We came by this river with tons of critters inside of it, and spent some time hanging around here. Okay, enough fun, it's time to head home. Yeah, just as we were heading home, we saw a name underground. Someone is here. This is how I found Sword in the last video. Maybe it is another scared islander like us, but maybe it's an enemy. Although I was curious, Sword and I decided to head back to our base and not mess with anyone else just yet. But now we know we are definitely not alone. After running all day, we found another village. This one wasn't abandoned, but we robbed them anyways. We got some pretty decent resources here. Then Sword found this abandoned car. Okay, this is really not good. It looks like whoever was driving it didn't make it out alive. And the scariest part of this all is that we are now living on this island too. We finally made it home and put away all of our goodies, and I decided to go fishing with my new shiny golden fishing rod. I headed over to a nearby pond and was fishing for literally a minute before Sword alerted me of an enemy on our land. As soon as I started running towards our base, I saw someone running away from it. Sword must have scared him off. I started chasing after him, but then decided to let these dinosaurs take care of him. I spent some time today rereading this book. Maybe we can find the location that the book is talking about. All we need is a castle overlooking a small burnt down village. Can't be that hard. If you guys haven't seen our last video, you need to go check it out. Sword and I made it through 100 days in a zombie apocalypse. Instinctually, I decided to make us a bunker. This protected us from the zombies, so it will definitely protect us from dinosaurs, right? I made this bunker entrance quite hidden away, inside of this tree and underground. Hopefully we won't experience any more earthquakes like we did on our other island. I lined the walls, ceiling, and floor in cobblestone, and added in some beds and a chest with plenty of emergency supplies. I was down here for a while, so I decided to check and see what Sword was getting up to. He had built a second story to our treehouse. He used the second floor to hold a small farm, and it's looking pretty nice. Okay, now it is time to go mining. I found a few diamonds, and then came back up to make myself a chest plate, and back into the mines I went. I was mining for a super long time, and eventually, after what felt like several years, I had full diamond armor. Sometimes I get lucky with diamonds, and other times I get very unlucky. This was one of those unlucky times. Sword and I checked the book for some last-minute clues, and then left for an expedition to search for the castle. Just minutes into our search, Sword decided to eat one of these clams we found in a pond. And, well, it made him pretty sick. If you're still watching this video, go comment clam on Sword's video to confuse him. Guys, he is still confused why people were commenting garage on his last video. As we were traveling to look for the castle, we found ourselves in a very bad situation with this T-Rex. Yeah, he wasn't too happy, and even though we didn't bother him, he wanted to eat us. He actually did some damage to me and flung me up into the air, but he lost interest and I got away. We weren't sure if there was actually a castle out there or if we were just reading some old book, but we had to see for ourselves. Like I said, if there are others on this island, we may be able to be a part of their civilization. Sword and I checked each mountain we saw, but we weren't finding any castles. What we did find is this village that was lit up in flames, and above it, there was the castle. I'm pretty sure the book mentioned something about a burning village, so this must be the one. Sword and I checked it out, and oddly enough, this place was a ghost town. We were able to get some random bits of loot, and some of it was actually pretty decent, but others I didn't know what they were. After getting all of the loot we could, we left the burning village and climbed up to the beautiful castle. This place was interesting. There was a ton of loot. Whoever lived here was really rich. There were also dinosaur skeletons everywhere. I got a lot of diamonds and a diamond saber. And once we got up to the second floor of the castle, we found the balcony that overlooks the village. And yes, there were plenty of potatoes here. This is definitely one of the stranger things I've found in Minecraft. With our full inventories, Sword and I headed back to our treehouse. We found another small village and thought we could go raid it, just when we realized it wasn't abandoned. There was another islander, right there. Sword and I sent over some warning shots with our bow to let him know that we aren't messing around. We decided to leave him be in the hopes that he could be friendly. It was a long journey, but I was pretty happy to be finally home. I decided to plant some bamboo. You never know when this could come in handy. And it also looks really cool. Then I tried out a weird shovel I had gotten from the castle. And holy moly, this thing is literally insane. It breaks up to 9 blocks at a time in a 3x3 radius. Sword and I have loads of treasure, but one thing we don't have much of is wood. We keep using so much of it. So I spent a few days just chopping down trees, and by the time I was done, I had a good amount of jungle wood. As you guys know, the dinosaurs on this island can do a lot of damage very easily. I'd really like some golden apples so I can heal myself. So today I went mining for some gold. Saying I was frustrated from this mining trip is an understatement. I don't think I found one piece of gold. Yeah, this was just an epic fail. To make myself feel better, I came back up to the treehouse and watched the sunset on this new balcony that Sword built. Today, Sword and I decided to go out and see if we could find that other guy that we saw earlier. But we had zero luck. The trip was just us killing dinosaurs, and we decided to head home when it got dark. But the next day, we were back out searching. It didn't take long to find what looks like another player's base. Well, this actually looks like Patrick Starr's base, but hey. We went inside and no one was there. We noticed he had some pretty good loot though, and looked around for an enchant table and actually found one. So of course, Sword and I were going to enchant our gear. But just as we were heading to the enchant table, we saw him. There he was. We ran out of there so fast, I don't think we would have been able to put up a fight. The next day, Sword took me to a jungle temple he had found, but on our way, we kept getting mining fatigue from this guardian temple. It was so bad, so we had to keep going back to our treehouse to get milk. Why there is a guardian temple in a pond in the jungle, I don't know. I don't question the things that happen while I'm with Sword anymore. Eventually, we made it to the jungle temple, and it was quite small, but I did manage to get myself a diamond pickaxe. There wasn't much else in the temple, so we headed home. Now that I have a diamond pickaxe, I can mine for obsidian for a nether portal, and an enchant table. So that's what I did for the next few days. I went mining in hopes of finding some obsidian, and maybe, if I'm lucky, some diamonds. After a super long mining trip, I was eager to enchant my gear. I got almost all Prot 4 and Depth Strider 3 on my boots. Sword also got Depth Strider, and now we can escape from enemies if needed. I also got Sharpness 4 and Fire Aspect 2 on my saber. This thing is a really powerful weapon now. I needed another adventure. I went far, far away from our homey treehouse today in search of something new. I actually traveled to the entire other side of the island and found these terrifying looking birds.
Yo, what the heck is that thing? No, get away, get away, get away.
Eventually, I made it to the castle that Sword and I traveled to, and I went inside and grabbed some of the loot that we weren't able to carry. There was still a lot here. I also grabbed some potatoes so that we can start a farm at our base. On the top of the mountain the castle was on, there were a ton of penguins, and I grabbed all of the penguin eggs I could carry. I told you guys, I'm making this penguin sanctuary. The rest of this adventure was just me running around aimlessly looking for something interesting. And I found it all right. I found myself back at Frame's base. I thought he may be out and I could maybe steal some of his loot. But there he was, and he recognized me as the guy who broke in a few days back. I called Sword over. I really need backup for this fight. Instantly, I regretted my decision, and I realized this was a bad situation to be in. Framed had way better gear than me, and he had boomerangs. I was able to hold him off until Sword arrived for backup. We weren't able to take him out, but we did get away alive. We better be very careful now because we have an enemy. Sword and I took our time getting back to our base. We killed loads of dinosaurs and explored a bit, but the long journey home was nothing but a mistake. Once we got back to our land, we noticed our treehouse was up in flames. Sword did his best to put out the fire while I defended us from Framed, but this wasn't easy. This guy had multiple swords, and I really had to be careful fighting him.
Dude, put out the fire. I got him.
He did get me to about half health a few times, but I was able to get him off of our land. He eventually left, and I climbed up our treehouse to see what damages had been done. It was bad. There wasn't much left. Sword and I were very sad, but we knew if we wanted to survive, we needed to keep moving. So the next day, we started searching for the perfect spot for a new base. And after 2 days of searching, we found this cool swamp biome, and it was perfect. We killed some alligators and trapped in these very difficult to deal with cows. Then I spent some time going to get some items, and I think I found Sword's hidden treasure chest. Once I made it back to our swamp, I cut down some of these gigantic custom trees and helped Sword with this wall he was building. This wall took way longer than we could have expected. Sword and I were going back and forth from material grabbing to building for quite a long time, but that's okay. A tall cobblestone wall should help keep out both enemies and fires. And after we had outlined our land with this wall, I decided to get started on a house. I missed building with spruce wood, so of course I had to use that. Remember that penguin sanctuary I promised I would make? Well, today was the day. I made a nice little pen and started hatching some of the eggs I had gotten. From over 20 eggs, I got 1 penguin, but I was devastated when he was trapped in the wall and died. I was really sad over this. I decided to work on something else. I spent some time harvesting sugarcane to get our enchanting setup back, but then Sword said he was going out exploring and I wanted to join him, so off we went. After running through the jungle, we found this gigantic building, almost like an enclosure to something. We headed inside and quickly realized this was a raptor cage. Although these guys are cool looking, we both knew that they weren't going to be friendly. We jumped down and easily killed them off. But there was another room to explore. As we headed into it, this one had way more raptors. We were doing fine at first, fighting off a few of them. But then I turned a corner and there was an enormous group of them. The worst part about these guys is that they pounce, making it really scary to fight them. Sword and I both almost died here, like we got very low. And we were both very overwhelmed with the raptors and at one point got split up from each other. This was so scary, but like we always do, Sword and I got through it and killed off all the raptors. We explored around the area and found this terrifying gigantic T-Rex corpse. One of the islanders must have killed it. They must be super powerful. And not far from this dead T-Rex, we found another one. And Sword and I really wanted to kill a T-Rex over these 200 days. So we woke him up with a nice smack, and he wasn't too happy, of course. I mean, what did we expect? He did hit me and take a few hearts, but nothing serious. With just a few shots of our swords, he was dead. And there was another T-Rex close by that we also took out. But then we headed up the coast a bit more and found another one. This one was alive, but he was actually friendly. So we decided to give him some food and let him be.
What a peaceful little guy.
As we were heading home, it got dark, so we spent the night at a village. And the next day after that, I found a witch hut with super cool potions. I got a luck potion. No idea what this does, though. After all of the dinos I had been fighting, my armor wasn't in the best shape, so I spent some time repairing it today. I did lose some footage of Sword and I traveling into the Nether, but here we are, at a fortress. We weren't here long though. The mobs in this Nether mod are way too much to handle with just diamond armor. On top of this, we were lagging a bit, so yeah, it was pretty tough. And of course, I almost died. I had blazes and wither skeletons coming at me all at once, and it was getting tough. But thankfully, I was able to run away and block myself in until Sword fixed the lag. Thank you, Sword. Although we wanted to leave the Nether, Sword needed a certain mushroom to craft a car. Seems kind of strange to me, but we looked around for it anyways. And we weren't able to find it, so we headed back to the overworld. At this point in our time on the island, I was getting worried. We hadn't seen Framed in a while, and he could be anywhere lurking around. So I left in hopes of finding him. He definitely wants us dead. I quickly got distracted and came across this awesome looking jungle temple. So I went inside and the loot in here was super weird. There were some different types of ores that I have never seen before, but by far the weirdest thing I got was a pig ingot? Please someone tell me what on earth this is in the comments section. I was really enjoying the jungle and I built myself a base in a tree where I could spend a few nights, and I even built this fishing dock and did some light fishing. Sadly, I didn't get any cool treasures. Okay, I need to move on now. I basically ran around the entire map and I couldn't find a single soul. I did, however, get ambushed by alligators, but don't worry, I'm fine. Eventually, I came across something pretty incredible. What it is, I don't know. So I sent Sword the cords and he came right over. This could be an enemy's base for all we know. We headed inside together with our weapons ready. There were a good amount of raptors and Dilophosauruses in here, but not much else. Not even any loot. I was kind of bummed until Sword found that this place has a basement. And in this basement, there was an end portal. Well, of course we're going to fight the Ender Dragon. The portal had almost all of the Eyes of Enders. We just need 4 more. So we ran home and crafted some. And I actually had this insane stroke of luck on the way home and got 3 Ender Pearls from killing an Enderman. Oh, I also had to take care of this guy who thought he could hang out on my land. I had blaze powder from the witch hut, which was perfect. I crafted some Eyes of Enders and we ran right back to the portal. And here we are, in the end. Once we went through the portal, I noticed I didn't have a water bucket. What on earth am I going to do if the dragon flings me up in the air? Let's hope for the best. There were these weird particle things floating around. I'm not really sure what they are though. Sword and I started taking out the healing towers one by one. And I had to tower up to get one of them, and I was certain the dragon would hit me off, but I broke the tower without any problems. After getting all of the towers, Sword and I got some great bow and melee shots on her. And before we knew it, we were being showered in XP. The dragon fight is so easy with these weapons. It's kind of broken. We grabbed the dragon egg and then we decided to go through the end gateway portal. We saw an end city straight away and went in. And we were pretty much floating up to the top with levitation. It was kind of crazy. We did get some cool loot, but no elytras. Sword got a Fortune 3 diamond pickaxe. We headed back to the overworld where we were brought back to an unknown location. Yeah, we were pretty lost. We were looking around and then out of nowhere, another earthquake happened. And these crazy skeleton horses tried to murder me. But listen, I have experience with earthquakes by now, so I knew exactly what to do. We were running around and then came across our old treehouse. It was pretty nostalgic to see it. But we weren't alone. Out of the jungle came Framed. I knew he was watching us. He was even more powerful at this point, and Sword and I knew this was our chance to protect ourselves and get rid of him. We did everything in our power to kill Framed, but he has knockback weapons and fire aspect. He also has thorns on his armor, meaning we take damage when we hit him, and a lot of my hits weren't registering, and it was very frustrating. Sword and I were doing our best to hold our ground, but it was getting really tough. I lost track of my health and was taking fire damage. I tried my best to eat and heal, but in the end, we weren't strong enough to defeat Framed.